Hello everyone, I am Crawlers and this is another episode of Ridiculous Loadout. As you may already know, this is a series I started way back when in the Battlefield 3 days, basically whoring myself out for cheap views, running a suggested loadout from one of you in the comments section. Mostly, this is a not so tactical series where most of the loadouts are either bad or troll or just plain ugly looking. Rarely I get a chance to try out a combination, a kit that I haven't thought of before and maybe have good results with it. Mostly not though. So this time we have a more or less troll loadout suggested to me by Alex Belk. That's really not a whole lot tactical. I mean, this loadout is an explosive spammer loadout. Ironically, mostly similar to a loadout I ran a few episodes back, mostly the same except I used an 870 MCS shotgun instead of the AK-12 shotgun or the DBV-12 shotgun. So Alex Belk suggested I use the DBV-12 shotgun, which admittedly I never really used before, so it seemed like a lot of fun. But he also suggested other attachments, making this loadout more or less troll-oriented. The DBV-12 shotgun comes with the infamous frag rounds, an ergo grip, the FLIR 2 times magnification scope, and a green laser sight. Oh, and to top it all off, a duckbill barrel attachment that takes redundancy to a whole new level, I would say. Now, why do I say this? Well, the duckbill attachment is basically a choke that you put on the end of the barrel, except instead of being a full choke to group together pellets coming out of the barrel, this thing has a cut alongside its left and right walls, making the pellets escape there first and therefore, spread out a bit horizontally. But that's the problem. You see, we're not hunting quail here, we're hunting noobs. So, especially hunting noobs with the frag round. So, the projectile is somewhat like the sable round. There are no pellets, that is. And this is a problem when using the duckbill because it will screw up your accuracy through the, use of the modified choke. Besides that, we also have the frag rounds, as I said, which are kind of infamous in the battlefield circles for being a shit noobish end-all explosive, which I will call an I can't shoot for shit weapon. So, in the Battlefield 3 days, they came out with the frag rounds, and at first they were horribly overpowered and were just the end-all for shotgun-happy noobs on no shark canals, especially TDM. Those were a happy, fun couple of weeks, but after DICE nerfed the frag rounds into oblivion, it seems after that point, even in Battlefield 3, these things are all but useless, more or less. And I mean, don't get me wrong, these are useful on occasion when you have to scrape out a sniper from behind a box or barricade and you don't have a direct line of sight on him. Just, hit the wall behind him or the floor to the side and watch the Bambi take a couple of flips through the air. So, that's a lot of fun. Now, the specifics of the frag round, when you take a deep down look at them, are very unimpressive. The round does 20 maximum damage at 8 meters, which drops off to 5 at 40 meters. The splash damage is 25, but with a horribly short splash damage drop-off radius of 2.5 meters. It's a crapshoot, literally. And needless to say for me at this point, I think, is that if you fire it point blank at something, the only thing you will end up blowing up is your own balls, which, let's face it, are not a requirement for running the frag rounds. Next up, we have the ergo grip, which gives you 50% buff to the minimum spread while moving to both hip fire and aiming down sight. But in the case of the duckbill, of course, it's redundant and not proving in any way useful. The FLIR scope is also nothing to write home about. I mean, what do you need to see better? The dozens of blinding explosions spanned every second in Metro and Locker? I think not. The green laser sight provides a 33% bonus to hip fire spread when standing and moving, but again, it's rendered more or less useless by the duckbill attachment, as the spread becomes horribly all over the place. So now the DBV-12 shotgun itself seems to be a 12 gauge variant of the AK-12, and while I don't believe it exists today, it may very soon, as AK makes a civilian shotgun variant for quote-unquote duck hunting. It's sort of similar to the Saiga in that it's a box magazine fed semi-automatic shotgun, and in Battlefield 4 it has some pretty unimpressive stats. It fires the rounds from a box of 10 at 150 meters a second for the frag rounds, which is one of the slowest muzzle velocities ever, much slower than, let's say, the flechette rounds, the flechette pellets, which cycle through at 200 rounds per minute RPM. The reload time is also nothing to write home about, at 2.2 seconds for the short reload and 3.4 seconds for the long reload. It has an upwards per shot recoil of 1.2 and a first shot multiplier of 1.8. So, in effect, every shot is a first shot of the burst, so we can consider the per shot upwards recoil to be 2.16 and not 1.2. Other than that, it looks and feels pretty cool, like an AK would. Alright, so what can be said about the Rex revolver though? Well, it's a Russian 357 6-shooter and that should be enough to put a smile on anyone's face, permanently. Incidentally, the name Rex actually stands for Revolverna Export, which, you guessed it, means revolver for export. It does an obscene 56 damage at 15 meters, which drops off to 28 at 37 meters, meaning taking account for the headshot damage multiplier, it should kill with one shot to the face at about 25 meters. It fires the 357 Magnum rounds of happiness from a drum of 6, and because it's a revolver, it doesn't have a short reload time, and the long reload time being 3.4 seconds. It has a second slowest rate of fire among all sidearms of 180 RPM, and one of the best muzzle velocities of 400 meters a second. Now, the problem is that the Rex being a revolver, it also has a pretty horrible upwards recoil of 2. It also seems to continue suffering from the stupid DICE decision that the revolvers in Battlefield 4 should have a delay between the mouse click and the firing action, making it a very difficult weapon to use on moving targets, as leading becomes all but impossible. But, I mean, all in all, this is probably the goofiest looking revolver setup I've ever seen. I mean, look at it. The revolver has a laser sight on it, a red dot sight, and a flash suppressor. And well, I'm not sure that the flash suppressor actually does anything besides hide the mask the flash of the shot a little bit, which I guess in the case of the revolver is a very good thing. But other than that, it's just plenty goofy looking, and I'm not sure I've ever seen an actual revolver in real life with a laser sight on it. I'd say the only part I did like about this loadout that could actually serve some kind of purpose is the XM25 airburst grenade launcher. In Battlefield 4, it's basically the anti-Wookiee launcher. It's actually a very useful tool in fighting bush Wookiees and their closely related cousins, the Bambis. Ironically, I didn't think this would be a good weapon at the start of Battlefield 4 and in the beta after I tried it, but seeing as how a sniper can be hit at around 200 meters behind whatever he's hiding, you know, on a rooftop across the map, it suddenly became a very useful weapon. Basically, it comes in a few different flavors, but I'm using the grenade airburst right now, and in that sense, it's somewhat like the 3 grenade launcher, except people use it. I'll let that burn sink in for a second. Basically, it fires high explosive 40mm grenades to explode at 3 meters beyond the target that is being locked. I did a video on this a while back, but essentially what you do is you aim the top line of the hipfire reticle at the target, then scope in and aim just a tad above it. And from then on, enjoy the show. Now, unfortunately, due to its low damage model and small magazine, you will probably need to expand the whole mag just to kill one person. And add to that you're not if you're not standing on an ammo box, you will only have 2 mags to start with. So be careful. I'd recommend always reloading before you get into firing one of those things on someone, because a whole new mag is much better than one measly round to make the enemy laugh at you. So, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ridiculous Loadout. And now, because I don't feel like suffering alone, Alex Pelk must also run this loadout and upload it to YouTube. And I'll accept the link down in the comments below. So thanks for watching. Please rate and share this video as it helps my channel grow. Check out my other videos at the end of this one. And remember, in Soviet Russia, YouTube subscribes you.